I don't know what these niggas doing. They playing games.
Send one in DSC.
The link, play.
Oh yeah, I got you. I get into it in a second. I'm trying to get YouTube to connect. All right. I think we up now. Connect my. What though? Mod is sick that break. Okay. Bring that to like 30%. 20% is good. Okay, that's gonna have to do, to be honest. And yeah, that's gonna have to do. All right, let's get started, right? So today's topic is gonna be the isolation of independence. Welcome everybody.
Yes,
What we're
sir.
gonna
Yes,
do,
sir.
we're gonna just start off on that topic and what I mean by the isolation of independence. Seth, would you consider yourself independent?
For the most part, yes.
Okay, well, Nisa, you there? Okay. For me, I would also consider myself independent.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Nisa, do you consider yourself independent as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I would also consider myself independent, and I think a lot of people would consider themselves independent as an adult mostly. Of course, there's some nuances in society, and you have some people that are different. But with this topic, it brings a different perspective, and the perspective is when you are independent, it comes with a level of isolation because of a few reasons. One of the reasons would be the peace, and I think that peace as a result of being independent is it's so savoring, if that's the word that I'm looking for, or savory rather, enough so that once you get addicted to the peace, you really don't want to let go of it, like give away your independent solo single life. I don't know about you guys, but myself, just being independent is so peaceful, and like you kind of can predict what's going to happen because you can make plans and it won't change much. Even in my perspective or my experiences, instead of me worrying about if I am forgetting someone or something, you don't really have to worry too much because you sort yourself out. You don't have any liabilities, you don't have any kids, you don't have any partners. Outside of parents or nieces and nephews that you may have control, or not control rather, but what's the word I'm looking for? Care for? You really don't have much to worry about. And I think in our generation, for the most part, a lot of people are starting to fall into that experience and don't want to let go. What do you think, Seth?
I think that it just comes down to comfort, I suppose.
Okay.
You know, like I think most people value comfort over putting in what they need to in order to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a natural human attraction, comfort.
Okay.
I think it really takes more energy to push yourself out of comfort and to accept the tougher path in life to independence.
Right.
than to just sort of give up. I wouldn't really say give up. I think most people, it's not about giving up with most people. I think most people actually, they become, what's the word I'm looking for? Starts with a C.
Complacent?
Complacent. That's what it is.
Okay.
Life just makes them complacent. And they don't even realize that they are complacent.
A lot of people, I would also agree that they are complacent. I think, and I read this inside the book that I was reading called The Compound Effect, where people live in autopilot, and it's so easy to live in autopilot and be at peace. Like, honestly, I've experienced it where, like, right now I would say I'm in autopilot as well, but I'm peaceful and I'm getting stuff done. But many of the individuals in our society nowadays, they don't do much or have any goals or aspirations. Like, they don't have any extra spice to their life. They don't have any deeply seated plans of actions, or what's the next one? Ambitions. Like, they don't have any of that. Like, any of that at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's damaging. I think even for relationships, that's damaging for us, because if you don't have any driving force to be doing anything, you're not going to do anything. And I was talking to a friend of mine's the other day, and he kind of had a nihilistic belief on, you know, this.
Not the nihilism, man.
No, like he generally said, like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of like working hard and doing a lot of the things that we do? Like, you're single, you know, you don't have any dependents. Like, why even try? And I think with independence, it's okay. I feel like when you choose to be
have
independent,
beef with nihilism.
you believe in nihilism?
No, I said I have personal beef with nihilism.
Well, I've lived with nihilism when I was, you know, sick, and that was a very interesting experience to say the least. So, yeah, nihilism is not fun.
Can I give an input?
Oh, sure.
You know, I don't even think it's really about being comfortable.
Okay.
It's just how some people grow up. Because I can be honest, I feel like I just started getting because my mommy having an older parent.
Yeah.
You don't have to do so much. Like, and I used to have to iron my uniform.
Right.
And I used to have to wash my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I don't live with my mommy no more, and my mommy don't live with me, now I have to do these things. So I really don't think it's about being comfortable. It's how you grow up too.
Okay.
Like the rules and stuff you had when you growing up. Like everybody had to, like, some people had to probably wash the dishes, take out the trash, clean their own room, iron their own clothes, and then some people just didn't have to do it. I honestly didn't have to do that. I had to learn all that at an older age.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it comes down to on how you grew up too.
I think that's an interesting take now that you mention it, because even with me, I had a similar situation where I stayed with my mom, and she would wash the clothes and she would cook and, you know, do those things. And as I got older, like around 16, earlier than that, I would wash dishes, but when I was around 16 to 17 is when I started washing my own clothes, aka when I stopped living around her. So I can agree that it is the upbringing. I think it's healthy that you would learn how to have some type of independence from a younger age. Not like 5 or 4 or anything like that. Like, geez, but, you know, like a relatively pre-teen age, 11 to 12, double digits maybe. Like, by double digits, you should at least be able to wash the dishes or maybe clean a tub or something.
You're right, but then you gotta realize, like, I would say my reason why 40-something, she already used to cleaning dishes, washing it. She don't want you to touch these stuff.
Oh, shoot.
She won't do
I missed
stuff.
A lot of it, Nisi. My apologies. I disconnected for a few seconds. All I heard was I didn't hear anything.
Okay, I was saying the reason why I probably ain't really become more independent
Mm-hmm.
at a young age because like I just started becoming more independent like at age 20,
Okay.
and that's like 2 years ago. And it's because when you have an older parent,
Right.
they don't want you to do these stuff because they so accustomed to doing these stuff because their back in the
It's a
day
way
their
of
parents
life.
had them doing this.
Right.
Yeah, had them doing it from a young age, cleaning the
Mhm.
house by themselves. They so used to cleaning the house, they don't want you touch nothing. They want clean your clothes, wash your clothes, pack your
Right.
lunch. Like growing up, I never packed my own lunch bag. I never had to worry about finding my school shoes, my socks, ironing my clothes, washing my clothes.
Right.
All I had to do was wake up in the morning, take a shower, and everything just lay out. And then sometimes she would make you find your shoe and stuff, but she was so accustomed to
To do
washing
it.
your clothes that she don't want to
Mhm.
do it. And then if you do it and you do it wrong, that's worse. Because now she definitely won't do it by herself.
Yeah, and then she can say, you know how to do this know-how, and instead of teaching you, she just to say
Exactly.
you ain't making no sense, and then push you in the
So-
side
I'm not
into
gonna
it.
lie,
I think it
but
is also about your parent age too. Because the
Okay.
younger parents, they want you to do these stuff because they don't want to do these stuff because they ain't grow up doing these stuff.
They can say get somebody else to do it.
Exactly. These people who are children at 18 now they children 10 and they 28. They want their children do these stuff now. They want their children clean and learn how to fend for themselves at a young age because they don't want to do it. They lazy. But back in the day, the parents who was older now, who in their 60s now, they want help you. They used to want help you do it or do it. But these parents, these young parents now, they, you know what I mean? They ain't
I
care
get
about
it.
these
They
stuff.
they ain't have that spice. They don't have the spice of life.
Exactly. They
I
ain't get the
think
spice no
I think with you drive a good point enough so that because of that, because the parents want their kids from a young age to be doing these things for themselves, and I'm sure the parents will say, well, since you're doing it, you might as well do mines too. The children becoming slaves, or not really slaves, but rather they doing for the house, like almost earning their keep, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's low key another reason why the isolation of independence is an aspect or a factor, because now you just more inclined to get away from all these people because now you've been getting slave or you've been getting work from like a young age. You've been washing dishes from like 5 years old
you
and your
know,
clothes.
it ain't really slave. The younger generation gonna take it as slave now because they ain't used to doing them stuff. When you
Right.
cleaning the dishes and washing your own clothes or washing or helping your mommy wash clothes, that ain't slave.
No,
That's just you taking a part in doing something for you to become more independent.
okay, well,
But younger
worded it
generation
wrong.
will take it.
I worded it wrong. My apologies. What I meant by slave was they are, from a young age at least, they have the expectation that may be false that if they're gonna be doing something because they're so young that they shouldn't have to do for the entire house. They should do for themselves because they're just starting. You know, our generation seems to be pretty selfish and they don't want to do for everybody. They just want to do for themselves, and you know, be that they're really trying to get that independence because as far as they're concerned, why are other people dependent on me from a young age? When they mess this up, you know, all type of things like overthinking happen. Like, what if I mess up? And then when they fall it wrong, then the parents might just say, oh, you ain't know how to do nothing right. Mind you, the parents didn't teach the child how to fold. Like,
Exactly.
like
It's
when you might drink a little too much, so you gotta have your child drive you home.
yeah, that's insane. That's low key insane. And
And that's the thing. People is I never thought I would ever see this happen in person. But people is be going to the club with their mummies and their daddies, their parents.
or they be drinking with their
talking about,
kids.
I finally old enough to party. My
That's
mommy
insane.
would never.
That's insane.
My sister 35. She never been to a club with my mommy.
I never been
I mean,
to a club
yeah,
with my
they'll
parents.
drink wine with each other, but going to the club and twerking and no.
Club.
That right there is the high. Oh, my child. I don't care if that child old enough to do that with you.
Club.
That right there is just
Like, it's just wild. Because what you
that's
mean
just
club?
crazy.
Like,
That's
what
just
do you actually mean club? Like, you going clubbing or like busting bottles out like bears, having like a drink off you and your mommy or your daddy drunk? That's low key crazy to me.
exactly. That's weird.
Bro, I think it comes at a cost though. Like, for independence, like the isolation, it's almost like the shadow that comes with light, because with every good there's a contrast. So with that good being independence, the bad part is you isolating because now you know how to do these things, and people who come from different upbringings who don't have these experiences, they don't know how to do it for themselves. They're gonna leech off of you,
Exactly.
bro. And the next thing I want to talk about is the allure of independence. You know, like the experience, or what's so attractive about it. And I just spoke about it. You have peace and you have comfortability because you can now sustain yourself, and you only have to sustain yourself. I think for myself, this is why I wouldn't say for my family. My family isn't exactly like that. But I think for myself, I like the idea of getting where I need to be on time, within the time that I needed to. And if I can get there without being a burden to someone, I would be pretty happy, or pretty satisfied. I would feel complete. I would feel, I don't know, I feel good knowing that I'm able to get myself to where I need to be without being a burden, or asking someone, or not even feeling like a burden. I think that's also a crazy circumstance to be in, asking people for help. A lot of us as young individuals don't like to even ask for help, and it's for many different reasons. But I think pride is another problem. Definitely pride, because you could ask for help and then get rejected, and then you'd feel some kind of way, and that's not going to make it any better, that you still need to get where you need to be. But now you have some level of resentment for whoever it is, your grandmother, your mom, your cousin, whoever it may be. And now you're just there like, I don't need nobody, because the last time I asked somebody for help, throwing shade at someone, last time I asked somebody for help, they didn't help me. I think it's crazy. I think it's wrong, Loki.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's wrong. But you were going to say something?
No, I was just finishing listening to you speak.
Oh, okay. I think it's wrong that people would need to have that level of thinking, but it also comes down to different
People don't
circumstances.
have that level of thinking. That's the problem.
What do you mean by that?
Some people don't think out the box. They slow minded. No, like all fun and jokes aside, we
Like,
have
they
some
just
very
don't think,
slow
don't
minded
they?
people.
Right.
They don't take their time to think about things. They just say what comes straight to them out. And things that come straight to them out don't make no sense.
Right.
People don't think about what they say before they say what they say. Put it like that. And
Basically,
I think
people don't think.
Huh?
Basically, people don't think, period.
Yeah, they don't think. They just say things. They say things, and then what's be funny is people will be saying, trying to sound smart and say all these big words, and they don't know the meaning of these words.
Yeah.
And then they can sound more stupid. Like,
Yeah.
no offense. If people would think before they say stuff, it would be, that would be a key factor on how stuff will be like very different.
Okay. So now what I want to talk about is the hidden cost of being solo. I think independence is great, but when we really dive into the cost, or what tolls it take on the body, I think I like to call it like the buy yourself tax. And do you think, any of you at least, do you think the solo tax, if you understand what I'm gonna ask, do you think the solo tax is worth the independence? Like, is it really worth it?
It's really, I would put it in the middle.
Okay, what do you mean?
Because there's so much key aspects that you can get out of being solo, like the hidden costs of being solo,
like
or
what?
at least experiencing solitude.
Okay.
Because it can stem from various like intentional or unintentional factors.
Okay.
It could be spiritual. It could be introversion. It could be personal preference. It could be plenty things, and that's the problem. People become solo because of many things.
Well,
People want to become spiritual.
I I think in my personal experience, I kind of isolate myself a lot of the times because I I'm past the stage of being understood. I'm often misunderstood, and I'm comfortable with that. But on a deeper level, I think that people oftentimes would throw jabs or they would have animosity in circumstances and situations that are not necessary. For example, if you are like in a group setting like such, we're having a conversation, everybody's being engaged in the conversation, everything's going smooth. And when I were to say something positive, you would either get a backhanded comment or like an awkward silence, or even worse, like you just have someone try to like overshadow it. And I just think it's not that serious. Like you ain't trying to compete with nobody, right? But because people love to compare themselves, and the comparison is a thief of joy. A lot of people are depressed because they comparing themselves to lives on social media as well. How much money they don't have, how much experiences they don't have. They don't know what it's like in Dubai. They don't know what it's like to be on a private jet. They don't know what it's like to have $100,000 in the bank. And a lot of them don't need this stuff, but they want to experience it. And I think me as an individual, being around people that don't even realize that that's the nonsense that go in their head, it's really draining because all they're trying to do is like one up you. And I want to get into the hidden cost of going solo. And I'm gonna ask you guys some experiences and while I give mine. But the first hidden cost would be independence often means people assume you're okay. Now, I've had several experiences with this where people, despite whatever crazy stuff would be going on with me or whatever whack, insane things I would be going through, people wouldn't really, I wouldn't say people won't check on me, but they wouldn't be as concerned because they'd be like, oh, that's Pratt, oh, that's Byron, you know, like he's going to be okay. And it's so funny because I would want to say that I'm not bothered by it, but low-key, over the long run, it would be bothering to you that you would be there for some individuals because you're independent, you got enough to like, you know, help or talk to people. But when you actually, like in some rough times, not very many people would be rocking with you, if that make any sense. Y'all ever experience anything like that?
Yeah. I experienced something similar, like when I first got into my career, honestly.
Right.
So you know, the field that I'm in is a little bit tougher. It's more skill based. So basically, the only way to get better is you put in the time. Right. So my entire goal by the time I was like 19 or so was, okay, I gotta put in the time. Like I gotta isolate. I gotta put in the time. Right. So everyone who was my age, because mind you, I'm living in Canada at this point, right? Everyone who was my age is over here is more concerned with partying at that age. Right. Because you can drink by the time you're like 18. So everybody I know is like more concerned with stuff like that, and they want to go out, they want to party, or even if they're just hanging out together, like not even going out, it was just like drinking together, stuff like that. I'm like, I can't be involved in that. Like smoking, drinking, stuff like that, I can't be involved because I have to be in a lucid state of mind to become better at my craft.
Right. You locked in.
So during that time, like when I first started to do this, I was dating someone too, right? And her friends were a lot of my friends, and I'm sure as young men, we know how that story goes.
Yeah.
so so it became this awkward thing where people didn't care to check up on me, and like it's not that I wanted people to check up on me, because I was
Right.
honestly fine, like in my isolation. The thing that started to bother me was you have people that say they care about you, like they say they care about you,
Right.
and yeah, like you're okay in your isolation, but say something does happen, you don't have anyone who actually cares enough to reach out though. Like, they say they care, but they don't care enough to reach out.
Right.
And they don't care to be a part of that experience of you being isolated for a certain reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what friendships really are like. And this kind of is the reason why when you first asked me at the start of all this conversation, you asked me, hey, do you think you're independent? And I said mostly.
Yeah.
The reason I said mostly is because I don't believe in complete independence, so to speak. Right?
Right.
1 second.
Okay.
But yes. I don't believe in complete independence because I believe that the best form of independence is having the right people to depend on.
I agree.
Like
I agree.
like you might be completely independent on your own. Like I'm not saying that, okay, like when it comes to washing your own clothes, going to your own job, owning your own car, taking care of your car, stuff like that. Okay, of course you're gonna be independent in those parts, but like growth as a human being is not achieved as a solo practitioner. You know?
Yes, I agree.
Growth as a human being is done with the right people around you, because as you change, as you go through different phases in life, you can only really get through them having sort of a different, like having different perspectives around you. Because if it's just your perspective, like you're independent, oh, I'm independent, I'm just me, I'm like, you know, like this whole like boss girl stuff that's been going on, similar stuff to that. Like it's not real independence. It's like you clawing at the idea of, oh, I just want to do everything alone.
Do you think that people confuse autonomy with independence?
Yes, I do think that.
Because I agreed where you said that you're not completely independent, because no man is an island. Because if you're on an island by yourself, you definitely gonna go crazy. Like, we social creatures, whether we accept it or not, just being in the presence of other humans would be quite stimulating for us, and it helps keep us sane. But isolating completely will drive us insane, because now we don't have any societal breaks or barriers. Now we could think whatever, we could do whatever. We don't have any social restrictions or social social restrictions or barriers to prevent us from saying and doing some diabolical crazy stuff. I think that people want autonomy, but they don't understand the value of having someone to depend on.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? Like, I believe that us as individuals, we can function by ourselves, but we shouldn't be by ourselves, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like I think independence is important in the ways that we discussed earlier.
Yes.
Which comes to like taking care of yourself and stuff. But when it comes to livelihood and growth, like long-term growth, livelihood, and really truly finding yourself and becoming the person you want to be, I think that actually is most impacted by having the right set of people around you. Because that's your support system at the end of the day, right? Like everybody sort of needs a support system. When people don't have a support system, they get into all type of crazy stuff.
Yeah, very
like
true.
we can look at a lot of these billionaires, for example, right? Like, so a lot of them, obviously, they've had good careers. They made a lot of money and stuff like that. And that's what people look at. They're like, oh, that person's rich, this and that. But look at some of them who end up hanging out with Epstein. Some of them who end up hanging out with Diddy.
Real
stuff
crash
like
outs.
right?
Real crash out.
They
Yeah.
like on the outside you see them running these company stuff, and yeah, they reached a certain golden life, but internally these people are crumbling. Like their morals are crumbling, their behavior is crumbling. Like internally these people
They
are kind of
imploding.
yeah.
Isn't that really
So
crazy though? Like really crazy that they get to that level. But okay, it's crazy. And what I'm gonna say maybe like a weird take, but when you're at a certain level, it's kind of hard for you to find some people to depend on because most people they just need money.
right,
And then most people, because they just need money and you have all the money, they're just gonna be around you and do whatever you say or, you know, do whatever you want, what they think you want for money. So it's like now
right,
impossible for them not to give you what you want.
right.
I think, I think that's like that's a difficult predicament to be in, really. Because let's look at all the
Yeah.
rich people. Let's look at the billionaires and the multimillionaires. You know, divorced or married or whatever have you. The power
Wait,
of
before
them.
we start on that conversation,
Right.
could you just give me like a quick 3 minutes? I just have to very quickly run down and grab something.
Yeah, sure. That's no problem.
Okay.
So until he comes back, I think I'm gonna talk about another point. Another point that I would like to discuss on the hidden costs of going solo would be the emotional toll of handling everything alone. Now, I speak to several different experiences that people may have in this case and circumstance. Happy New Year, Trap. Happy New Year, bro. I would even saw videos on TikTok about this kind of topic of the emotional toll. You'd have single mothers complaining and crying about the emotional toll of them having to go to the doctor by themselves, them having to pick up the kids, they have to go to work, they have to make hard decisions like what school the child is going to go to. Now, me personally, I don't think that's a hard decision, but for some people, their emotional control or their stress levels are much lower than mine, I can only assume. But they would be really stressed about, I would consider the simplest things, but I can only speak from my perspective. And I think it's really sad that people, they want this independence, they want this autonomy, but when they have it, it's like the worst, most bitter experience. It's so bitter even that you look at the family structure, single mother or single dad, and in most cases you would have like a dysfunction by default. And it's not a good feeling or it's not a good idea for us as a society to want to run the system as such. But what could we say? What could we do? I mean, we could change it, sure, but this is what people want. It's like they don't want to they don't want to be dependent on anybody, but in the same token, they low-key need to, because if they don't, they suffer more.
Right.
Yeah, they suffer more. Single mothers, single dads, they suffer more when they're by themselves, and the child suffers because now the parent is functioning on 50% power. They can't give 100% because if they give 100% to the kid, they can't go to work. If they give 100% to the job, they can't deal with the kid. So you could only give about 50, maybe 60 or 70%, whatever percentage, but you can't put your all. You can't put your eggs in one basket. You can't diversify. And I think it's just a really bad experience, even for kids, like people pushing the independence and just pushing that whole idea of,
I think that's where
what?
that's where the importance comes in for what you said earlier, right?
Mhm.
That like a lot of people are actually mistaking independence for autonomy.
Right.
Like a lot of people just they like especially the movements talking about women being independent and young women being independent, stuff like that. Look, I agree.
Right.
Like, make your own money and be independent, stuff like that. But really, that's just autonomy. Having your own finances, that's just being,
And it's good.
that's just being a,
Yeah, it is. Really, it is. Adulting isn't easy. I don't know why people made it seem like it was. I wish parents did a better job overall with kind of bracing the younger generation for impact. But some of them got it and some others didn't. But you know, stuff like it's sad. Like really, it is sad that we are living like that. 1 second. Oh, we're living like that, and then when you, for example, myself, right? I don't think that I have trust issues, but I am cautious, to say the least, about relationships because when you have a lot of, huh?
now, before you continue, I just want to
Okay.
ask,
Mm-hmm.
what does trust issues really mean to you?
I think trust issues would be circumstances or predicaments that make you suspect your partner, that make you anxious about your partner, that makes you resent your partner without them doing anything because you're overthinking. You're thinking about, oh, is my partner doing me dirty behind my back? Because of a past relationship. My past relationship, I saw these signs before, so now my body is physically responding to the same response because 2 + 2 is 4. If that person did it last week, why can't this person, they follow in the same path? So what makes me think that they're going to be different? I think that's a sign of trust issues. Because if you have an issue of trust, you're gonna be second guessing your partner. You're gonna be, insecure a lot of the cases and circumstances. And that's why I believe that I say, like, I don't think I have trust issues. I'm aware. I am cautious. I do ask questions. I don't ask questions like bold and crazy, like, are you cheating on me, or are you lying to me, or like I think those are extreme things, but people ask those questions.
Things, how would you ask if you were to suspect those things?
I would ask questions in almost like, I wouldn't want to say beating around the bush, but kind of like circling the bush. And what I mean by that is almost like how you would be in an interview for a job and they would ask you different questions to kind of see where your mind is at and kind of see how you would respond. And they would make an assumption. So I wouldn't ask someone, hey, are you cheating on me? I would ask them something. And I also believe that if your partner is doing things in a shady way, and they're not being transparent, it's your full right to not trust them because they're not making themselves trustworthy. I'll just say that right out of the gate. For anybody, man or woman, if your partner is moving shady, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and it looks like a duck, it may just be a duck. So if they moving like a cheetah, they talking like a cheetah, they sound like a cheetah, you probably with a cheetah. Like, you better off safe believing that than, saying, well, let me give them the benefit of the doubt. No. But yeah, I don't think. But they be very, like, they be moving very clear. I'm not like that. I think that it's toxic to say, well, if you ain't talking to me, who are you talking to? You only could be cheating. I think that's very toxic of a statement because I believe that autonomy is a thing. You could have your own life, you could have your own friends and family, and you could have your own things going on. But this is where autonomy and you're brought up, see how you're brought up is different for other people. For me, and you guys know me, I kind of isolate just because I feel comfortable and it allows me to have a lot of ideas. And my family has also seen me isolate and kind of stick to myself and do what I want to do. They've seen me, and people who know me, they see it as well. But when, let's say if I were to get a girlfriend and I see her immediately start asking me, hey, you've been talking to somebody else. You wasn't talking to me. Usually he's answer within 5 minutes. Now it's been 5 minutes. You haven't answered. I would think that's really crazy. I don't know, Seth. You ever experienced something like that? Because I have.
I've experienced that sometimes, but like not with a partner, with people that I don't. Let's just say, not with a long-term partner. No.
Yep. Big up in the chat. Big up in the chat. Yep. So yeah, that one nuts. yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah, that one ain't no good. Oh, bro, I've had experiences, man. I've had experiences, and I think those individuals, yeah, man, that's the boy. Yeah, I got my AV in the chat. That's what I like to see. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, I think I've experienced it enough where people would have had trust issues about me, and I wouldn't have trust issues about them. And those people that have trust issues would almost implode on themselves by doing some crazy whack stuff. And by that, I mean, like, they would have in their mind subconsciously, he have to be doing something. Ain't no way this boy sitting at home reading his book. Ain't no way this boy at home recording the video. Ain't no way this boy just chilling. And he just ain't messaging me. I go and go message somebody else. Oh, I going out to party. I go and go post one crazy picture to get a response. And I be there like you okay though? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all don't see these stuff happen on a regular basis?
I mean, I see those things happen with other people now. Now, I would say I was on the given end of that to a certain degree, not to the point of like posting myself and going out and doing this and that, but because I was with, caused me to have trust issues. Like, I'm a very secure person, and you've known me for a very long time, but
yeah, I would say
like,
that.
I'm always happy. I'm always smiling.
You don't really bother with people like that, like, yeah.
I don't bother with anybody, right? So like even when I came into the relationship that I'm talking about, when I came into that relationship, I was a very secure man, right?
Same.
But because I was very young at the time, there were certain things that my partner did that invoked trust issues, right? Early on in the relationship, they did certain things that caused me to have trust issues, and because I basically held the relationship together. Like, my actions held the relationship together, right?
You're understanding, so then, I bet.
Right. And so in the long term, that caused me to have more issues, right? Okay. So like when they go do certain things, like then in it, and you know, I would. And so it's not that I would have done anything. Like, I didn't go out. I don't go out. I don't post pictures of myself. But like, I'd be home. It'd be kind of the opposite. They'd go out or something, and I'd just be there like, man, do I really like trust what they're doing and stuff, right?
Hey. I think. And yeah. Sorry, my apologies. Continue.
I was just saying, like, that taught me a really big lesson, that like, somebody is put in a position to question your security, maybe you shouldn't be with that person to begin with.
Oh, I'm happy you said it. I'm so happy you said that and addressed that point, because I think a lot of the relationships I would have gotten into, not only was it fast, but I would have stayed longer than I should have, because I saw these signs and I felt these signs and I experienced these signs, like heavy signs that, hey, you should probably not be with this person. This person is pretty toxic. This person isn't good for your mental health. You know, like, it's almost like a spidey sense would be tingling with me. But I'd just be like, no, it's fine. And you've known me, Seth. I would say that all the time. But like, no, that's straight. Yeah, I just said, that's straight. I'd say that's straight. Ain't no pressure. And
in that same way, I feel like for like people that are secure, like you and me, people who are secure, people who do things that are shady, they put us at risk of behaving in ways that we don't want to. Simply put, like, you're already secure as a person,
right?
but then they will make your mind unrest or put your mind at unrest just because of
Right.
their actions, like their
Right.
toxicity and stuff.
Right. I think I agree. Not even I think. I know that for a fact I agree. And it's on both ends. And oh well, someone in the chat just says, okay, he said early on that it comes from maturity though. Like the issues that we going with, like we wouldn't have those if the people were mature, which I agree. But he said, as a man, women will test you and it'll be subtle as well. First, if you don't catch it and nip it in the bud quick, it'll spiral. I agree. Because, you know, if I could get away with it, I'll get away with it
100%.
again. You know, like, and I've heard this saying, it was cool before, so what's the problem now? Because, you know, the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which I agree. But now you're in a predicament where, you know, you was tolerating this nonsense. They was doing nonsense. And now you're like, you know, I don't really feel like tolerating the nonsense. And this is where they flip it even more, like double damage. That person will then say, oh, you must be dealing with someone now because you was cool, but now all of a sudden now you got this, like your chest big up, like your ego big up, like you believe you better than people, and all it's a bunch of nonsense, really. But these stuff happen. The mind games happen. Wholeheartedly, it definitely does happen. And bro, I don't know, man. I don't know. The emotional toll of it, I independence, the isolation that comes after, it's very peaceful. Because a lot of people be doing this insecure nonsense, and to a person that is secure, it's really a yawn and pass. Like,
Yeah.
you really just do yawn and pass. Another point with the hidden cost, if you just don't trust no one. So if you don't trust no one, you can't depend on anybody. And I think people that depend on people that they don't trust, it's like playing with fire or like being around a flame with a bottle of gasoline. Like, you have to be crazy. Okay, as Vincent said in the chat, to get out of that insecure environment is very relieving, to be honest. It absolutely is. It is so relieving. I beg anybody that experiences these toxic environments, these insecure environments where there's a major imbalance, to please let those people go. I'm not saying that that person as an individual is a terrible person. They may just be mentally traumatized or ill, and or that's not in a negative, that's just being real. If that person is going through that stuff, leave them the hell alone. Like, just let these, like, let them go. I do think, in a similar token, that people leave relationships early. I myself may be one of those people, I'll say, because
Right.
I think, like, if we're dating, we're in a relationship, and we're in the hopes of being married, that if we're having major issues before marriage, it's not going to get better drastically.
Much better.
Yeah, it's not going to get
Right.
much better. So with that belief, if I see certain things that I'm just thinking to myself, hey, if I were married right now, would I deal with this? Oh, someone in the chat, but I'll continue talking. I think a big issue what I would have is, I would think to myself, and it may be toxic, right? Is I would say to myself, if I was married and you were doing this, would I be questioning the marriage or not? And I think that's a really crazy thing, because people oftentimes will do stuff like that in marriage with time. Like, if you've been with someone for 20 years, I'm sure they did some stupid, messed up stuff that they didn't mean. I believe there's limitations. Like, you shouldn't hit anybody. You shouldn't, like, really disrespect anybody. But I'm sure at certain points, you may even do it and you address those things. But, like, really major red flags, like lying on your partner, abusing your partner, stonewalling on, emotionally neglecting your partner, manipulation, like overt, like you ain't even being subtle with it, like you ain't even trying to be, you know how girls do be, like they try to be cute with it, like they just be subtle with it, like there's nothing wrong with it, right? I'm not gonna knock it, but like you clearly can't you can't be rocking me with all this manipulative tricks you trying to do, right? Like the gaslighting, the oh man, like I can't. I think a lot of the times it's hard for you to trust. It's harder for you to trust early, and if you are trusting, I think a lot of people in relationships early on, that may be different for me. They would like kind of they'd go on this like probational thing where they'd be on their best behavior for some reason. I don't know why. Like, you should just be yourself. Why you on your best behavior? Just be you, and like, let's see how it works. And it's like they treat it as a job instead of like treating it as a living experience, right?
I think that's the worst part. That's one of the things that starts to the downfall of the whole thing.
But treating it as
It
a
kicks
job
off
instead
the
of an
down-
experience,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. It actually weighs a lot mentally on people, and I think
Right.
especially for women, I think it weighs that on them more. And I think that's what starts the downfall for a lot of people in relationships.
Like when
When
that
they
ball
start
start
treating,
rolling.
when they start treating as a job, it's a snowball down the
Yeah,
long path.
yeah, because then they start the resentment, and then they still be doing the task, and then you know what has happened after they leave. After everything I've done for you, this how you gonna treat me? You know how many people that say that about jobs that they should have left years ago, and they'd be like,
Exactly.
"I've done this for 20 years, and you couldn't give me a promotion?" Like, oh my gosh, like
Like
if you had a
should have
problem,
never felt like you were doing things for this long.
and that's the funny part. That's a job. You would do that, but like for a relationship, like not even a marriage, or like a relationship, bro. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like it's grim. That's all I could say. It's grim. In the chat here,
It's
we
grim.
say, I'll tell you this. My biggest problem as a single dude now, I disassociate quickly. Red flag, deuces. Yeah, and I
Deuces,
can't blame him.
yeah.
I can't blame him. I can't blame him. And it's similar for me. It's just that I take like a longer strat. I have a lot of patience. So with me having a lot of patience, I be seeing the BS. I'll be honest. I be seeing the BS, and they be like, that's some BS. But I understand. I don't even tell people, like, I forgive you and all that other stuff. I usually say, I understand where you come from. I see your upbringing, and I see the things that you may struggle, like the trauma and the things. Now, if you have too much trauma and you stand to like push that onto me, you got to go. Absolutely not, because I got my own issues. I try
It's
to
just
be
not the
someone.
time or the place for that.
Honestly, like if you got that basket, you take that basket and you let that pixie dust go somewhere else on somebody else who looking for pixie dust. I ain't really looking for pixie dust, quite frankly. And some people like pixie dust, some people like toxic, and I used to be that, so I'm not gonna be that jerk or that person that's lying. Seth, you've known me. I used to be a fairly toxic person when I was like, what, 15 till 19, 18?
Right.
Or pre-cancer. Let's just say that. Pre-cancer. Pre-cancer, I was cancerous.
I had to get that ejected.
Yeah. I was pretty cancerous, right? I was insufferable. I was diabolical of an individual. Empathy was absolutely non-existent. Yeah.
All right.
And I don't even think now I would consider it karma. I think it just makes sense. That whatever comes my way, whatever comes my way is whatever comes my way. But geez, like some people, some people really just love to, like trauma dump. Imagine that's another thing, right? About this independence thing. I think the reason why people they kind of like going back to trusting no one, there's no one to lean on. They would be overly reliant on their partner and solely their partner, because they don't have any friends, or they don't have any community, they don't have any friends, and they don't have any family. So all they got is, it's me and my man, or it's me and my girl against the world, bro.
See, that's the exact reason why I said independence isn't just alone. Because if you don't have that support system, aside from that, if you don't have something going on, like you don't have your boys, you don't have like the people that you deal with stuff with. Aside from that, you're not really independent, are you?
No, you just restricted, right? You really are just restricted, and you borderline like, what's the word? You're dysfunctional. because
Yeah.
you ain't fully locked and loaded. You ain't really equipped to do what you gotta do. So,
Exactly.
bro, wow. You don't think that's crazy?
I think that's something that, like, it's something that people don't. It's large part of what people don't take into consideration in
Well, a lot of
life.
people don't take anything into consideration most of the time in
Beyond not
life.
taking into consideration, I don't think people are taught
Aware?
to understand what that is.
You know? I don't think they
Yeah.
do. I don't think they do. Okay. So
Right.
I think one thing what I want to ask the chat before we move on to the topic, and the question is, have you ever been in a situation where you wanted help but pride or independence kept you silent? And Seth, do you have an experience? Nisi, Vince, whoever is here, you have any experiences or want to share any experiences with that? Because I have experienced that, and I want to crack in on that. A situation where I wanted help but pride or independence kept you silent. I think when I found out, like when I got diagnosed, not when I was doing my chemo, but when I got diagnosed, I low-key needed some stability, and I didn't my independence, it wasn't really pride, but I really just didn't want to be a burden to anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody, and I didn't tell anybody. Seth, I think in fact I didn't tell you late, but you were one of the few people that I told, and like I almost didn't want to tell you, but I felt like I had no other option because I was about to crash out. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. Wait, do you remember if I called you or if I sent it by text? Because I think I sent it by text actually.
I think you sent it by text. You didn't tell me. You didn't like call me and tell me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I think you had posted something. It wasn't related to what was going on.
Right.
You just posted something, and it was something I didn't see you post in quite a while, or anything of that nature. And I was like, I reached out, and that's when you told me about it.
Right. Right. See, exactly. But that, so even then, I could almost tell you how I almost felt about that circumstance, because here I was. I didn't want to ask for help because I know people have their own lives and they have their own things going on. And I know even my family, I knew what was going on. It wasn't the best financial or emotional circumstance to begin with, but I was terrified and I was like crashing out. I really was. I wasn't even depressed. Like that's when my nihilistic belief started to kick in. So as I'm mentally giving in to whatever my mind wants to give into, which was freaking out of this world, I'll tell you, that's an experience. God. Yeah, I didn't even message you directly. You had to check up because you just was like, you okay though?
Exactly.
Like you just
I was
like
that doesn't sound right.
yeah, you're like, you okay though, Byron? I was like, I bet you. It's like, yeah, man. No, man.
Exactly. It was like something like that. I think we were in a conversation for a little while before you told me exactly what was going on.
Yeah, because bro, independence it's I want to say, coming from a healthy aspect now, independence, a lot of people are independent because they didn't have any to depend on. And at that time, it wasn't that I didn't believe that like I said, it wasn't pride or I didn't have anybody. I wasn't even comfortable being dependent. I was just not comfortable with it. But something like being vulnerable to that level was freaking terrifying. Like, jeez.
Right, understandably so.
It was terrifying because here I am now about to tell everybody about something that's going to change my life for the rest of my life. And then they're going to be pointing at me. And of course, my eyes and the things that came as a result of it, they'd be like, oh, how'd you get that? And I'd always be reminded about this experience, but I needed to talk about it. So I did. Yeah, I wanted to ask for help, but I didn't know how to, but I kept silent.
All right.
I really did. I had little, silent screams on, my social medias. I can laugh at it now because really it was it was so crazy. My brain, how it works and functions now, I could almost assure you at that time my brain was not functioning at the level that it was now.
Right.
Like
And I mean it was a bit of a traumatic situation, and
yeah.
there was no, like, you were not equipped to understand how to deal with it beforehand.
I really wasn't equipped. I couldn't even prepare for that. I really just was like, wow, this is happening. It was so
Right.
bad. I was even trying to, like, play it off like, yeah, man, that's not too crazy. Brain tumor, not too crazy. Bro,
Just
this is
another day.
insane. Yeah, it was. I act like it was just another day, and I was like, yeah, man, nothing too crazy. Posts on my status some crazy stuff, Seth. You'd be like, you okay? Yeah, man. No, man. But I straight though. Bro.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Bro. Okay. Since no one really had like a statement, I'm gonna move on. So we're gonna talk about masculinity, trust, and emotional distance.
Hmm.
The first point I'm gonna talk and say is many men associate independence with masculinity. Um, and there's some evidence to back this. They say that women recover from relationships much faster, or they recover in a healthier way because they have community or they have social circles, better social circles. And to that I can agree, because if I didn't have you guys, I didn't have my boys, Seth, Vincent, you guys, I think a lot of those cases and circumstances I would have crashed out, because there was some crashed out situations, some traumatic things that I was going through in my life.
Right.
And I can understand why men would feel that way, but I think like it's so restricting, because going back to the point, isolation, the isolation of independence, it's a double-edged sword, because now you feel, even with the masculinity, people have their pride and their ego, like, oh, I too tough to be calling my boy to say like my gal cheat on me. I can't let my boys know that. Well, don't.
Right. It's pride, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day.
It ain't even your fault, mind you. If a person cheats on you, like, that's solely their choice. But like,
But pride will have you feeling like maybe it was your fault anyway.
yeah, so to double down on you, I think it's really crazy, actually. Um, Bro, I think with us men associating that independence, or like that autonomy, like we spoke about, being autonomous, like being self-reliant and self-sufficient, we may be able to regulate our emotions, but in some cases and circumstances, it really ain't that serious. Like,
I think it's because a lot of people confuse regulation with uh elimination of emotions. Like,
avoidance,
just because you got rid of them doesn't mean that you are
that you're
dealing
over
with them
it.
properly.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, pretty much. That makes sense. That checks out, actually. I bet now.
Yeah.
I bet now. Shucks. I think another aspect with masculinity is that we see that vulnerability, because like I spoke about before, even in my experience, I was like, bro, I'm not telling nobody none of this stuff. Like, what the hell? Vulnerable? But I don't have no weakness, right? That real delusional belief that I had. I was insufferable.
Right.
Vulnerability is seen as weakness, so we avoid emotional connections. And I believe in quality over quantity. So
Right.
I personally, and you know this, I share my deepest thoughts and opinions and beliefs with the people that are close around me. And with that comes vulnerabilities. I don't think it's a weakness. I think it's even strengthening, because whenever I show those weaknesses, you guys could tell me, hey, Byron, that ain't really something that you have to, work hard on, or rather, that ain't something that you, how do I word it?
You gotta focus on too much.
Yeah. Like, pressure. It ain't ever that serious. Without that, that experience, that vulnerability, I wouldn't have known that. even like when I messaged you the other day, right, Seth? Remember when I messaged you and I asked you that question? I forgot what the question was actually, but it was almost like my inadequacies or my shortcomings, and I open myself up to constructive criticism. I think a lot of dudes
Right.
them they don't do it because it may, the ego, it'll shatter their
Yeah,
ego.
and like a lot of people might be faced with things that they don't want to deal with necessarily.
How common do you think that is? Is my question.
Very common. Very, very, very common.
Really?
I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with dealing with their emotions. Like the question that you had asked me, I actually did send that to another person as well, and I was like, hey, would you be willing to not for me, but like, would you be willing to like
Do
look
that.
into these questions for yourself?
And what did they
And they were
say?
like, yeah, yeah, I'd love to. And then they never got back to me after that. Like, that's it. So it was just like, yeah, for sure. And it's like, okay, well, you don't really mean that.
Yeah, and
If
then
you're
it's
just
like that.
saying, yeah, for sure, and then you disappear, like, okay, like,
You just pretty
that,
much
that
just like,
wasn't the
yeah,
point of
babe,
it.
real. You're just like, yeah, babe, real, and then just walks away. You'd be like,
Right, exactly.
like it's that awkward silence. You'd be like, so, like, you ain't rocking with the flow, then, bro. I think that
Yeah.
happens. Like that really happens a lot now that you mention it, and
I think that's most of how a lot of people communicate these days, sadly. A little bit of brain rot stuff. Like, people will just say, like when people say, yeah, that's crazy. But that's it. They don't say anything after that. It's just, yeah, that's crazy.
and it usually don't have anything to do with what the heck you were just saying. Like that's crazy
Exactly.
wouldn't even connect. They either not listening, they don't know how to respond. And I think some people would actually say that. They would actually say, I don't even know what to tell you. So that's crazy. Even me, in some cases and circumstances, I could be honest. Some people have said some really, really dense things, some diabolical stuff, and I'd be like, boy, I ain't even know what to tell you. Like
And that's
I
fine. Like, if you were to tell somebody you don't know what to tell them, like, I feel like that's more acceptable than
that's
when
just
you being like,
communicating
that's
it too.
crazy, and then, like, not saying anything after that.
I
Like,
think
just,
the
okay, that's
difference.
crazy anyway.
Yeah, yeah, they'd be like, wow. Anyway, I think the difference is one, I would be communicating, the person just isn't communicating. That's really it. People just don't communicate these days. I think another thing, I think that's another reason why I myself and other people may be independent is because you would have the knowledge and the wisdom even to help people out, but here it is now. They ain't really want to help. Sometimes they don't even see the problems that they have. They don't even identify it as a problem. So they be like, yeah, babe. You be like, hey, would you be interested in taking some advice to make you better? They be like, yeah, man. And then you give them the advice, and then they just be like, yeah. Or better yet, they wouldn't even listen, or they would run away from it. I'd be like, wow, so what the hell do you agree to?
See, that's another reason why I barely even give advice to people these days.
I
Because it's
stopped
a
doing
waste
it
of
too.
my breath.
It's a waste of my breath, and it's like the waste of my. It almost lowers my value because there I am. They looking at me like, oh, you had a load of this brother having a yap session, and they said they was willing to take it. You know what I mean? Like, bro,
Yeah.
it's almost crazy. I I would have experienced me being. This isn't even like a right or wrong circumstance or case, but I would see people saying some clearly ignorant stuff, and I'm at the point in my life now where I would see them saying some ignorant stuff and informing people in their ignorance about ignorance, and I would just shrug it off. I really would just be like, well, you just made another person lost. And I would be completely fine with that because you have to learn at some point, and I ain't gonna be the one to teach you. If you wanted me to teach you, you would have been here.
All right. Yeah.
Is that a bad way of thinking, you think, or no?
No, I don't think that's a bad way of thinking. I think that's the proper way of thinking, if anything, because it preserves like you having to put in work for other people and you having to put in work for, well, a tree that will bear no fruit.
Yeah,
Right? Cutting your losses is just as good as making money. That's
you
what I
know,
always say. Like,
that's
it's like saving a dollar is like making a dollar sometimes.
what's really funny
And
when you said that
mhm,
is a similar quote where it says it's not about how much money you make, but how much you save.
mhm,
And even with finances for me, and I invest my money. Um, I feel like I have more money because I save money.
right,
I
right.
don't make that much, but I'm able to do so much with the money I have because I don't just waste my money anymore. Um, yeah, that was just a random point. I don't even know why the
But
heck.
that's exactly what it is, though, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's money might be like the best way to describe it, but that's how it works with exactly what we're talking about. So saving your breath is like having more knowledge to
value.
spread to people and value to spread to people that do matter than the people who you have to chase behind. It's kind of like
Right.
when you're a kid and your teacher would tell you, I don't want to run behind you for homework.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really understand the homework thing, but that's the exact same thing. Like, you're not anybody's teacher. Like, you don't need to run around trying to help you. Like, you don't got a cape on, bro.
Real. Be no hero. Like you're not the savior here. Okay. With that being said, that's an interesting take. You have the independent people that also have that savior complex, and I think that's a toxic combination. Like, you know what it is? You have someone that's hyper independent. They don't want anything from anybody, which is, I believe, is partially a lie because in a way you're doing things for people. It's almost like the nice guys and the white knights. You're doing a
Hmm.
lot of things. You don't want to ask for anybody help because you don't want to be vulnerable or you don't want to show that you need help. And now, when people don't give you help, you're upset because deep down inside, the things that you're doing, you're hoping, praying, and has the expectation that one day someone's going to return the favor. And I think that is wild. I think
Yeah, I
that's
don't think that
completely
you should hope
ridiculous.
for somebody to pay or repay the favor. In
I think
fact, I don't
that's,
think there's very many repayments of favors as is.
that's literally like that's literally not a favor one. But oh my gosh, like people do it though. People do
They
it all
do.
the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Those I ain't gonna call their names, but those young
Yeah.
men, uh
Yeah.
those young women self-sacrificing, and then when they don't get what they want, they crash out. Yeah, they boy, they here
Like
by
you
the boatloads.
self-sacrifice for no reason, you
And
know.
then they be mad. They be like, "Wow, I do." Like I said early on in the stream, I do all that for nothing. Yes, you did it
Yeah,
for something.
pretty much.
You did it for
Like,
something. I'm sorry.
you're doing it for something. You
Did
should
you
have
did
kept
you let
your
me
ways
know?
about it.
Did you at least inform me of this transaction that was that there was no contract, but like was there like a unspoken contract? Like, bro, oh my gosh.
I like
Okay,
that you use the term transaction because some people make it transactional
they
and then
try
they come
to.
to you and then they'll say, oh, things feel transactional, but it's because of them.
And it's because of the way that they're doing it. They're given with the expectation, just like how if you're purchasing something, you break into the grocery store, the merchant or what's the name of the person, the cashier. You bring the
Right, right.
groceries to the cashier. They're gonna expect that you give them money because they know you walking on the store with like, come on now,
And that's how it
like, but
works.
that ain't how it works in relationships. That's not how
Yeah.
it works. Oh my gosh, jeez, people really be like being independent or like being overly fixated on independence in relationships. Oh my goodness, sorry. That's actually more damaging than I thought. Now to be broken down, don't you think so?
Oh, it's 100% more damaging. I mean, I suppose it's not something that you would think about often, but yeah, once you put a little bit of thought to it, it's
Uh huh.
way more damaging than you think. Yeah.
Okay, so we can now kind of wrap up actually.
Yeah. I
And what we're gonna be
think that's a
talking
good
about,
place.
we're gonna be talking about just rebuilding the balance. How do we bring this to a healthy case and circumstance? How do we make this uh sensible. Let's make sense about all of this. I think
Okay.
a good way to deal with this isolation, right? This independence, this hyper independence perspective that now makes us be by ourselves. We want to be by ourselves, and yeah. I think a good way to deal with this would change our perspective, right? On independence, right? Independence is a
Right.
gift, but don't make it your prison. So
Mm-hmm.
have a healthy balance. I would have done that after I got diagnosed with my chemo because I learned a lot about myself during that time. And since then, I've been a better person. I'm independent. I do things by myself, just like it is with the podcast and the videos that I post. I be by myself. I talk on camera, but I also talk to you guys, and I have friends to talk to on my stream. It's a balance. I think another way to kind of help with this is to don't confuse isolation with strength. Us men, we like to be macho, masculine men. We don't need nobody. We really just like hyper independent. I think
Mhm.
all men at some point from a very young age are trying to be hyper independent. Do everything, save everybody, save our family, and you know, get it by hook or crook, which overall may not be the easiest or the most logical way to go about it, but man, that's how we deal with it. The next one is the goal is to be self-reliant, not self-destructive, aka be autonomous, don't isolate. Really,
Right.
we when it's bad, get in your social circles, lock in.
Right.
And people
And
underestimate that. Yeah, what you were gonna say?
you can't avoid vulnerability in that position or take
Yes,
on unnecessary burdens.
yes, and we love to take the burdens by ourselves. I myself, like I would have said earlier, I didn't want a burden, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. I felt like I was a burden throughout my whole chemo journey. I didn't want to be a
Right.
burden, which is crazy because I now understand that I wasn't really a burden. I needed help. I needed to be vulnerable. I needed someone to share my experience with, and thank goodness I did, because yeah, I probably wouldn't have made it if I didn't. Being honest.
Yeah.
Uh
And it puts you in a very tight hole by yourself
yes,
when you don't have different perspectives to help build
right.
a better image.
And imagine if it was just all negative. I think
All right.
I think if it was all negative, I would have been in grave danger. Oh my gosh. I would like I said, I was nihilistic and no one was giving me that optimism or, the good perspective. I'm happy that I had you guys and my family around. And I
Yeah.
think that people can learn from that, have a healthy balance, speak to the people around you, maybe talk to the people at church, like get in your community.
Yeah, I think that's an important one. Getting in your community,
Yeah, getting in your community.
church, neighbor groups, doing things outside. Because a lot of us, our lives are kind of restricted to, oh, you go to work, you go home. Or
Yeah,
if you work from home, you work and go back to bed, right?
right.
Like that has become the life for most people, and a lot of people have fallen out of touch with community,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's going to church, going to community events, going to neighborhood events, whatever it is. I think that helps. Like, okay, even if you're in that phase of isolation in life, where whether that's for your job or for whatever other reason that you need to be isolated,
Right.
it's still good to come and be a part of the community
Uh-huh.
where you're not being judged for what you do,
Right.
and you have people that are willing to back you and
Mm-hmm.
be there for you and whatever you're going through.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that perspective actually. I think that's a
Like
very healthy
I
perspective.
see, like I always go to pray on Fridays,
Okay.
right? Like every Friday. Um, this Friday I couldn't go specifically because I was very, very overloaded with work, but this
Okay.
is a very particular week that's happening. It's not every week type of thing.
Right.
But but almost every week, no matter how heavy the workload is, I'll do my best to be
Right.
out there, to go to the community, meet with people, pray,
Interact.
Yeah.
I too do that because Wednesday I also go to church and I go to Bible study, and then some Fridays we would have, like, at my church we would go to
Mhm.
meet with the team before we handle stuff at church, and then I speak with you guys every other evening when everybody is available. Like, I try to engage in many aspects and circumstances. I try to help out in ranges. Like, goodness, like I and
Right.
it's not because I said I don't like people as much as people might think, but
Yeah.
I do it not by obligation and not from a dark side. I do it because of stability.
Of course.
I think that's the best way to define it, for stability. If I were not doing those things, if I weren't talking to you guys, if I weren't doing the things that I would do, I would be like an indoor crab. Like, I go to work and go home. Even in the gym, like, I go in the gym and I actually would, like, start to greet people instead of, like, going in with my kitty, working and don't talk to nobody and leave. Like, I thought about that and I really sat down, like, wow, that kind of, like, gives off like a creep kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool at all, but, like, that's really, really, like, weird, because here I am going gym to the same place for months on end, and no one knows who the hell I am. They don't know. They don't know anything about me. I'm just that one guy with the hoodie on who working on focus mugshot out, and then people don't remember those people. People don't remember those people. They don't care about those people. They don't ask about those people. They don't, like, you pretty much don't exist. You're a shadow person.
Right.
And
Right.
there's no worse feeling to live a life and be a shadow person. Well, like Vince says, because I care. Yes. Wow, Vincent. Oh my gosh, you exposed me. Maybe I do care. I'm not going to fully agree or deny any accusations or statements at this time. But yeah, like, bro, I like to help people.
I mean, you're a human being at the end of the day. You gotta care about some things.
You gotta care about some things. Yeah, I do care about my family. I care about my friends. I care about the people that seek wisdom and knowledge. Like, people who want knowledge, people who seek wisdom, and I may have the wisdom more than they have. I'm always willing to give that up. But very few people are there. Very few people actually want to learn anything in life. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I think that'll be it for the most part. So if you have any last things you want to say before I wrap up.
I think for me that's all, to be honest. The only thing that I could really say is that you need to understand the signs to not fall too deeply into isolation, because isolation isn't the only way to independence. That's my closing statement, so to speak.
Okay. Well, for me, I'll just say that um I think us as humans need to remember that we are humans and not robots, and stop trying to be extreme or live in extremes, be hyper independent and hyper dependent. I believe we need to have some type of balance in our society these days with our relationships, interpersonal relationships as a whole, and strive to be healthy individuals, because healthy individuals make a healthy society, and a healthy society is a productive society. Quite frankly,
All right, yeah.
yeah, that's really it. I think we just need better people in society, and in order for us to be better people, socializing and vocalizing our thoughts and opinions and beliefs may very well fix us, or, like, help us in our shortcomings. So yeah, just try to talk to the people around you, and you may find out something good about you or not good, and you could sort out and be a better person. But that's gonna be all, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all for tuning in. Seth, I appreciate you talking. The people in the
Of
chat,
course.
I appreciate everybody for being here tonight. It's been a good session.
A very nice session.
Yes, a very nice session. We learned some stuff about independence and the isolation of independence. So hopefully in the future we're gonna be back on the next stream. So y'all